Hello everyone, I'm Rob Smithley in the Black Quant Edge VTF here at T3 Live with this weekend's market breakdown for you. And SPY, oh boy, you got your inside, outside. All this range still just a mess here. So it's been earnings and it's been very stock specific, but we are attempting to put these outside bars series at a lower level. So you got the outside week here. You got the outside week here and the outside week here, and all those are lower. So just like the Cubbies here, we do have some work to do. But when you have a tight range, things can change very quickly. We haven't seen the futures guys really throw any big punches here lately, where they attempt to really break through one side or the other, because we want to see if that's successful. We do have some sectors breaking down, but if you can fake it till you make it, it doesn't take much to firm things up real fast. But let's take a look at the monthly. Here would be the major concern on a macro level is remember there's long range in here, and they tried to hit them, couldn't get through in here. The question is this the slight higher high up into here, and do we drop back into this range? Potentially that would be very bad if we can get back into this outside week significantly, but that's here nor there at this point. We'll take that when it comes, because if you look at the daily, here, this is a mess. This is just a mess. And so when people are sitting there trying to figure it out just using the SPY, that's folly. There's no need to do that. If you go to QQQ, a little bit different of a story, with still hanging right near the highs, and it was not weak enough to go outside. Comes in, but still this upper level range, and how we're going to get out of that. And if we go to the monthly here, still hit the highs this month, so you can't argue with that. It is red on the month. The question is it going to continue to advance out of this stuff? It was outside month, not quite inside this month. So still, and we'll get to the tech sector here in a second, we can see this triangle here. So it does make the slight lower low off of that. The question is, we're going to go here or worse. We'll have to see. We got Apple last week on the earnings, and so a lot of charts can be seemingly invisible, and what that I mean is the activity from the earnings after hours. And so if you were watching that Apple after hours, there's these macro levels still matter on these charts, and so it did spike up, but then when it came back through, one bar reversal strat of the inside week here, it was inside and week and up first, so long as it held, but as soon as it came back, that goes reversal strat one bar with the earnings below 116.28, and so there was some nice moves both sides there. But you can see this triangle here, not the end of the world, but it was rev strat down, and we'll see from here start off the week. Our somewhat momentum shooting star here after not making the higher highs in there, albeit it did after hours. And if you see something like this, you'll know probably right about where it went. Tee-hee. So the question is going to be weak enough to take this stuff out. You start off as a daily momentum shooting star, and we are finishing off the month. And if so, we did Apple. You can see here this outside month was key. Once you took that and reclaimed it, then you're looking for this fractal broadening formation, which is what an outside bar is. To take that, now the question is going to go shooting star and take it all the way back in. We got a day to close that out, but we'll be aware of that coming into November. Small cappers on the monthly, you can see, got up into here, couldn't make the highest high, but still within the realm of this, but blood red on the month, and that went single bar rev strat weekly down to here, peak below the 120.10 and started to get hit a bit. It was already much weaker as it took out all these weeks' range compared to everything else we've seen. And so starting off as momentum shooting star here, if it wants to continue to do so. If you go back to that weekly, you're going to see this. Ooh, little Gappington here, 117.09er, so we can keep an eye on that. But just that outside week, which is fractal triangle, and starting off as momentum shooting star on the daily. And remember, we're going to close the month out, so we got a whole new month, which is good because that can give us more information. Because that, when we do it on the weekends, we got to wait a week and a day and an hour to uncouple, which means when we can first identify 4 participation groups: the daily, the weekly, the monthly, and the 60. So this week, that will occur on the second hour on Wednesday, because at that point, we'll have a monthly opening, a weekly opening, a daily opening, a 60 opening to gauge the participation group. So we'll see how that goes. We'll go to TLT bonds. Bonds, you can see the weekly walking down this and went inside week to the downside. And for the monthly, The inside month calls the high and starts dropping back in. Now you come back into these equilibriums. We'll see how far it goes on a shorter term basis on that daily. You're going to go inside day to see if the triangle holds and starts coming back up into the gap or starts breaking down here to start off. Nothing new on the weekly and the monthly. However, if we go to SVXY, this is a potential issue here too, and to be aware of coming into the new month. Strong, big outside month. Didn't think we would be able to get outside of it, but we did. And now we got that slight higher high off of this big outside bar. And so if this fractal triangle plays out, then you'd have SVXY all the way back down into here. If you go to the weekly, the slight higher high, the question is, it was going to be weak enough to take this. Here's the outsider there. And we took that up and come back in. Can we hold this series of higher lows, or we're going to start ripping back down through this stuff? A lot of bad stuff would have to happen, but we've seen it happen pretty quickly, depending on when. So you can see all this stuff in here. So far, it just pulls back. No new actionable signals in there so far. If we go to the Dow Jones Diamonds. Oh boy, look at this. Good luck in here. This is just, and when people are trying to figure out what's going on in something like this, you're like, it's doing nothing, all right? Nobody's in control, as you can see. Just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We did see, like in the SPY here, that Monday where they pop them up and then turn around Tuesday, and you can see that on a SPY here too. I wanted to show that. And this is an important pattern, how you can identify a shooting star or a hammer versus a broadening formation. Isn't it? An outside bar has to be broadening formation because I took out both sides. Then we got that doji on a Monday and peak. Then last Monday we popped up again. What happened? Boom, Tuesday. And so I've talked in many videos about how you identify the turnaround Tuesday is that anything that goes inside on a Monday is challenging the original direction of the Monday move in the futures. And so if they start to reverse, those are the things that are too weak or too strong to go. So anyway, getting back to the Dow Jones Diamonds, it's a whole bunch of, you know what I'm saying, nothing. You go to the monthly. Doji, 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 and the question is, are we coming back into these ranges? And that would be a concern. If we go in there, you'll see Boeing. Boeing took out the Rev Strat month, and took a while, but here you can see the inside bar countered with hammer. Rev Strat month to the upside, trying to, this is what we want out of things. Start broadening these ranges here, and it pops back up through here. It's going to start off the day, the week as an inside day to see if it's going to challenge the highs or drop back in. If we go to Cat Tractor, Cat also just starting off as an inside day, and if you take this back a little bit, you'll see this. This triangle here. So the question was, this the aberration up, back in towards the apex and start coming back down towards this stuff, measured move style, or can it maintain here? We'll see. Just starting off as an inside day is Cat. Disney trying to wake up out of here. And remember, we've been watching this tight triangle here, and tight triangles can be tough. But it does start off as here on the weekly. A slight momentum hammer if they want to start taking it out. Right here. So this is a momentum hammer because it's a hammer on the top of all this range. If we can take it out, that would be an attempt at range expansion. So we'll keep an eye on that. IBM, Piggy, goes inside weak. And I think this was a bad tick in here if I recall. But it is inside weak for this. And if you go to the daily, comes back up, fills this gap. So the question is just back and fill and then repuke. Or is it... what does it do off this inside week? So we'll keep an eye on it. All right. If we go to McDonald's, McBurgers does go inside month and down, just running out a month. And so here, he's just been triangle them out, and then a waka, 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 chapa. And then now we're going inside week here. To start off the week, start off the weekend, potentially the month, to see if this is going to continue, or if we can finally break an inside week back to the upside. If you go to the daily, you're going to see this. Here, slight rev strat, inside day, countered with hammer. The problem with all this stuff is these triangles are so tight that, like I said, we really need to see some more shake and bake. But, it is what it is, so we can keep an eye on stuff like that. If we go to Mini Minds, Triple M, post-it note, you can see here on the monthly, having a rough one as it comes off the highs and goes blood red. You're just running out a month. It's also on the weekly. Outside week, which goes fractal triangle, which looks like this on your daily. Here, bam, higher high, lower low, higher high, lower low, higher high, bam, into lower low. So how do we get out? A 3-bar pattern inside this. So we're going to be watching this to see if it goes down, sideways, measured move to the downside, or tries to maintain and hold the bottom of the triangle to come back up a little bit to for this week or finish off the month anyway. If we go to Merck, yeah, Merck on Friday goes here. This is why you want to watch for these combinations of setups. Merck goes Rev Strat day, inside day, counter to the shooter, where the stops go here, here, here. Thank you very much. Pow. Because at that point, it went up and then comes 1-bar Rev Strat, countering the inside bar on the monthly below 61.12. So 61.12, and then you had the daily here, 61.12 right in here, and that also triggers the re-triggers the Rev Strat month and the day. It was a perfect shot there. So I'm just pointing that out so you can see that in the future, because if you go back to that weekly, remember we were talking about this range in here, and tight ranges, everybody wants the clean break. Oftentimes you don't get it. Oftentimes they take out both sides of this, and they did. Bam, bam. Now we'll see if there's any follow through on that. If you go to Travelers, Travelers going inside week, and all this business stuck down in here. How do we get out of here? And if you go back to that monthly here, you can remember that went 1-bar Rev Strat here off the inside bar. Now just dropping in, taking all this stuff out. The question is going to be weak enough to take this stuff out. Right now, just starting off as an inside week. And you always want to also be aware of when an inside bar like this, if it starts to break to the upside, that it's going to be tall order to take this out, right? So if it starts coming up in here, we can expect really much tighter triangles eventually because it'll be a multi-inside weak pattern. So we prefer the downside with measured move, crush them as traders. Anyway, as investors, not so much, but as traders, yes. If we go to the trannies, come on, trannies do something. Look at this. Inside week after the, look at this, inside, outside, inside week. So if you take a look at that monthly, doing nothing. I mean, doji on the month. How do we get out of here? I mean, they're just waiting and waiting and waiting to see if we can get through all this stuff. And now another doji month here of nothingness in the trannies, and it's been, case by case, sector by sector, especially. American Airlines coming up on the month, just running out a month. The daily would be Rev Strat to the downside, inside bar counter of a shooter. But if we want to go up, you got the weekly momentum hammer to try and take that out if there's strength in the airlines. If we go to Alaska Air, and Alaska Air still trying to walk up, and you had once again a green month for it, just running out a month and just starting off here as a Rev Strat to the downside to see if it can. Here's your higher high, your lower low, your higher high, lower low, to see if it's stronger than this 2-bar pattern within here. But if they start taking it down, you got stops 1, 2, 3 right there. If they want to start taking it down, if it starts going up, it's another one of those you got to be careful of to see if it stays inside weak or not. Right off the shoot, just why you want to know that things are still inside, because what that means is it's consolidating, right? If we're going to define trending, it's going to be taking out highs and lows. And if we're going to define consolidating, it's not doing that. And so if you take a look at Netflix, if you're getting chopped up in here, I'm going to show you exactly why you are, so you can identify this. And that's why when people don't look at their monthlies and their weeklies and stuff like that, they don't know that. But look at this here. This is 1 15-minute period, right? And until it gets out of there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you're going to get murdered in here, right? You get murdered in here. Now, I'm not saying there's not some scalpable moves, but you want to be very careful, because at any time it's still consolidating and turns around. Oh, we're going to run them. No, we're going to kill them. No, we're going to run them. No, we're going to kill them. And then once it takes this out, once it finally challenges that, then if it doesn't hold, then we look for the reversal back in here, inside 15er, momentum 15er dumpage. Now we want to see if we take out both sides of this, which is often. So here we're going to see this, and we'll get to that in a second. But I digress, but there's so many things I want to show you so you know what you're up against. Anyway, let's get back to the airlines. Delta. So Delta, remember that monthly, is here. Inside pokes above it. Now it gets slightly above that bar here, and I'll blow that up so you can see it. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4 months completely within this bar's range. That needs to change. That needs to get challenged somehow. And so it's starting off just as an inside day. But once again, doji week, doing nothing until we can get out of that range. Okay, if we go to United Airlines. United does go weekly momentum hammer, much like American. And the hopes of United is that this range here was challenged here, challenged again, and now you're back into it to try and attempt to take all this stuff out, which would be very nice. So we'll pay attention above that weekly momentum hammer this week. If we go to Southwest Air, there's another good example. You're going to have a tough time not being an inside week after this range. Big outside week. You want to be real careful in here because it's outside week, doji month. All right. Now, you are, to be fair, if they start hitting the airlines right out the chute, you are rev strat to the downside if they want to try and hit it right out the chute or try and come into the gap. But the way when I say to be careful is that you want to be aware of any time change continuity, because at that point the participants are just going back and forth, and that means new day, new 60, even a new 30. These things can turn on a dime. Okay, so if we get to some of the choo-choos, CNI, and CNI, when we take a look at these monthly charts here, the question is, what is all this stuff? We get up and take out these highs, nowhere near the highs, and back into the apex of this kind of stuff, and then start dropping back in. So the question is, are we going to try and go back down and start taking some of this out? You're going countering this momentum hammer, and if you go to the weekly, you'll see this here, these slight lower lows right here. Question, we're going to be weak enough to take that out. So you tested this stuff, came back in, and so down into here, if you take a look at the daily, you'll see a little bit more clearly. Boom, 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 boom. And now here, shooter counters hammer momentum shooter to see if it wants to weaken back down toward under 61. We'll see how that goes. If we go to CP Rail, you can see this starting off rev strat day to the downside. Here, inside bar countered with shooter, and just minding these monthly charts with these slight higher highs and dropping back in. How can we maintain this consolidation to try and take another shot at the highs, or is this corrective activity within the greater puker? If we go to CSX, which has been one of the champs, as it walked up here and then went inside month and up. Now shooting star after taking all this stuff out and not strong enough to get up into here. That's a bit of a concern. So if we go back to the weekly, you'll see how it looks. Taking out this range. Now, can it maintain up in here? Is going to try and re-break into here. Outside day on Friday. And we'll be aware of that outside day, and certainly coming into the new month, shooting star if they start to hit the rails. If we go to FedEx looking like an inside month here, and so that's good. And remember this big bar here, challenge it to the outside, inside month back up, inside month back up. Now, is this inside month they're going to be strong enough to take a shot at all this stuff, go up? Merry Christmas to you. So we'll see for FedEx, UPS, 1, 2, 3 months stuck in this range. And then starting over a new triangle. Outside day, inside day, more fractal triangle stuff. So that what that gives you is doji on the week, and you got to get outside of that outside week so you can see the range that it's been in. So we'll keep an eye on FedEx and UPS together on that. Rider systems. And here's what I talk about when you get a tight range. Oftentimes you'll see these triangles that need to grow. Bam, 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 bam. Right? And so that's good for the monthly. Remember, he got slaughtered, came back in here, and now it's just all in this. Trying to get out of here. Here's 1, 2, 3 months in this range, but on the daily, you'll see this. Very clear broadening formation to see if it drops back in or tries to expand this. Same thing with EXPD, like so. I'm going to keep an eye on that triangle there. On the monthly, look like this. Inside month, outside month. But whenever you see the outside bar, you know where to go drawn, like so. Here's that daily triangle. Weekly, outside bar, bullish engulfing. So any outside bar is fractal triangle. That's what I mean. You just go to the shorter term time frame and you'll see it. All right. If we go to the Utes, maybe some good news for the Utes here. Remember last month here, or this month as it is, it did try and go momentum shooting star to the downside on the monthly, and there was some nice hits in there. But now it's rallying back, trying to hammer counter the shooter. And so what that's going to look like on a shorter term basis on the daily is, remember this, a lot of triangles in there, like so. The lower low, the higher high, the lower low, the higher high, the lower low. Now what is this? Do we roll back down, or we're going to try and come back up into this stuff? Do we need some yield? If you go to ED, you're going to see that triangle like that as well. If you go to Southern Company, you got yourself an inside week. See what they want to do with them here. Make sure you can see that. If we go to the REITs, VNQ, REIT, and here it is that inside but goes slightly higher, slightly, and then finally the down corrective activity, measured move back into the recent lows. And so at this point, that's also an outside week, which gives you fractal triangle, like so. Lower lows, higher highs like this. So the question is, we're going to hold this inside day and start coming back up into this, or we're going to expando and start getting slaughtered again. If we go to EQR, you'll see very similar like that. If we go to SPG, you'll see this still hanging near the lows, and that was quite the slammer. The down, the sideways, this is a measured move. So the question is whether that's completed or not, and if there's going to be any follow through, because you got triple N here, did the similar, and now the inside day. And you can remember we were watching this a while back. Bang, 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 bang. Triangle puke. Stop them out. Puke. Now inside day. You got the letter O here. Momentum shooting star after the triangle to see if that's going to continue. And once again, when you look at those longer term charts, a lot of things become more clear. When you see that down, sideways, inside week measured move, that's how you go after that. All right. HCN, just a few more of these REITs looking interesting. Outside week, which gives you the fractal triangle like this, and an inside day. And you've got I think we'll just leave it there. I think you get the idea. And defensive names like XLP, this is what we're looking at to see if there's going to be a rotation back into these yield names, because that's been saving the market all year, and now they've been weak. So that is a bit of a concern unless the risk on comes back. So in XLP, you can see how tight this stuff is down in here. Very slat lower low. Slight higher highs like so. How are we going to get out of here? And you're seeing a lot of inside weeks in defensive names. Just end and start the month. You got the Jizzer, General Mills. You got Kellogg's. You got the cheese ketchup, KHC inside week. We've got peanut butter jelly time, SJM. And then STZ could get real interesting here. And STZ has been one heck of a monster on the monthly. However, now it goes to the highs and comes back into this range. So the question is, we're going to try and test both sides of that range. And if we are, I would keep an eye on this here. Momentum shooting star to start off the week. This triangle here, if it wants to start ripping back down through here, that could be a pretty nice move. We could get sink our teeth into. All right, if we go to the financials, FAS. Oh boy. Tight. How do we get out of here? Just gotta get out of this place if it's the last thing we ever do. And for the month, it's a doji. So it's somewhat of a victory. If you go to XLF, a little bit better. Still trying to hang out up in here. You can see it's slowly trying to move higher, not coming up against that stuff. But doji on the week, so doing nothing. KRE, regional banks, was outperforming here. But the problem now is it sets up here, RevStrat week to the downside if they want to hit these things. Inside week countered with shooting star to come back into the range. And if you go to the daily, once again, you see that outside bar and that countered here. This would be the triangle. And so if you go in the daily, you're going to see it like this. Like so. If it drops back into there, you could have some problems, because we know it's starting to work on that monthly. Higher high, lower low, higher high, lower low, and now it's going to be strong enough just to go ripping back up in here. That's maybe. But if not, we start doing this middle of the range, start back and forth again. If we go to the big boys, JP Morgan, nothing new, just hanging around near the highs though. It's not dying. But choppy walk up there and just doji on the week, so it's not too much to say. We're finishing off the month. As remember, Citicorp. Tough to see on the monthly because of its reverse pigness. It was inside month and up with Bank of America. Now what they're going to do, I don't know, is we got Bank of America going weekly shooter here to see if here we triangle them out, and want to come back into this range or can continue to maintain. Wells Fargo did come off the lows finally on the inside week and up, but how far that's going to go, we got no new actionable signal there either. If we go to a few that do, or something else to keep an eye on, Deutsche Bank trying to go momentum, weekly hammer, says off this triangle here. So you get higher high, lower low, higher high, lower low, not quite a lower low. So it starts in here. Now, can this momentum hammer bring it all the way back up? And if it stalls out for just one more day, Deutsche Bank goes outside month, inside month, to see if it can continue to rally back and put our European fears to a little bit less extent. Northern Trust Bank in the regionals, one of those hanging near the high still. If you look at this monthly, it's still this series of lower highs here. The question is going to be strong enough to challenge it. On the weekly, you're going to come into this, somewhat of a momentum hammer to try and take this out. We're going to look at that daily triangle. Let's see if it's strong enough to continue to try and get out of this here. Lower low, higher high, lower low, higher high. Then it goes lower low here and is held above that for now. So we'll see how that goes in relationship with KRE and the others. If we go to STI, STI goes inside week. SunTrust Banks. So the question is it just taking this out and then drop back towards all this stuff, or can it hold, start moving higher? Right now, inside week, and on the daily, see they're trying to use the old triangle support here. It stops them out here, but then starts moving into the higher lows, which gives you the inside week. So we'll watch either side of that for sure. If we go to MetLife, nothing really new here except that MetLife on the monthly trying to get back into all this stuff in here and just well-defined range, like up in here, right up in here. How do we get out of this stuff? And Met and prove the same. Very similar up in there to try and get out of all that stuff. But we could use some more actionable signals there. Visa, you can see this tight range, and that's going to give you the inside month. Start off right on the highs because MA goes to new all-time highs of ever. And that is nice because it did it right here. It was off the, I believe, inside week last week, was it not? Yes, it was. Inside week and up into new highs. And if you're following along on the Twitter, we're watching it right here. It goes up, it pulls back, goes inside 15 right there. Inside 15, inside weekly combo takes you into the highs. Now you can see how on the 15, like they always do, got to stop out the touch stops by forming the upper level triangle. So it's just going into higher highs is all. But if you got Capital One here trying to go here. Would be a rev strat day after an outside bar here. All right, rev strat day once you get out of here. 2-bar pattern, though. It's got to get out of that thing there. As like I said, the monthlies still have a lot of work to do to try and take this stuff out. But you're challenging this now here. So we'll see how that rev strat goes to start the week. If we go to Goldman Sachs. Nice month for the Goldman Sachs. Now, how far can it get? It's taking out all this stuff here. So now the question is going to be strong enough to up into here or that right now. Got no new actionable signal on it. If you go to the weekly, you'll see this. Triangle that out, move up and just going into this stuff, gap up into here, fill. So don't know. Don't have any new actionable signals. Just keeping an eye on something like this here. You got the tight triangle business to get rid of them. Higher, lower, low, higher, high. Higher, lower, low, higher, high, lower, low, higher, high, lower, low, higher, high. Now, is this the true move and continue? Well, we could use some more actionable signals on that. If we go to Crude Earl and the friends, it can be a little tough to see, but this is something you want to be able to recognize when real tight triangles trying to get out of there, or a lot of people draw horizontal lines false. So when you see this range in here, what you're going to notice is people draw horizontal lines. That's not true. Because this is higher than that, and this is lower than that. So there's your broadening formation there. Then it goes inside day. So if it's either going to hold inside day and come back up in there, that's not what happened. It goes inside day and slightly lower here. And what that sets up here, if you go to the monthly, potential rev strat month to the downside. You got an inside month countered with shooter in here to see if it's going to get stuck back into this range come the new month. If we go to XLE, once again, it's slightly higher on this stuff here, and I believe just misses inside month by 4 cents. If you go to XOP, similar, but still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. You got some slight higher highs. Couldn't take any of this stuff out, but how are we going to get significantly out of here? And is this just corrective activity before we go back into the serious puking like we saw before, which would be fun? If we go to OIH. Here, coming back right back into the range again. Couldn't take this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months all in this stuff, making for a bit of a nightmare. And if you go to the OIH, what you're going to see here on the weekly, you'll see how they attempted the range down in here, came up and took this range out, not strong enough to take that out. See something like that. Bam. bam, bam, bam. And so if you go to the daily, you're going to see this. Bam, bam, bam. Lower lows, higher highs, and now back into this range. Inside day down on Friday, back into here. Once again, the slight higher highs, the slight lower lows. You can draw them tighter stuff. People always ask me how to draw the triangles, so if you watch this, hopefully you're learning how to look for them. Inside day, either triangles back up. That's not what happened. Momentum shooter, gap down, inside day. Back into this range. Take slightly of that out. It's going to be gap. It's going to come into all this stuff. We'll have to see how the monthly closes out. But if we go to the big boys in the Earls, here's the chevron, and look at this mess. You're going to get killed in here. And you can see it triangled them out. Bam, 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 bam. Then expanded the range to the downside here. Then comes back in here. Now expands the range back to the upside. So you're going to see something like this. Just getting killed in here if you're on the wrong side at the wrong time. So the monthly, look at the monthly. What is this? You got your slight higher high and you got your lower low in here. Where's the next test? Is it up? Hold this range and move back up and towards the highs, or is this just take them out range and then test the downside? We'll see. Big day on Friday, so going to be a tough time not being inside day on Monday. So it was an outside week, fractal triangle, what you're seeing, and then potential inside day on Monday. So ExxonMobil going the other way here, and unfortunately, this series triangle here, higher high, lower low, higher high, and then trying to expand to the downside. Exxon's going to try and stay inside month here. So certainly want to see what this is. Outside month, inside month. Corrective activity here and start moving back higher, or do they blow them all out here and it's back to this business in here? So inside month coming for ExxonMobil. BP, potential shooter on the month, and it's not going to make too much of it because this is really tight here on the daily. You can see how tight and choppy and messy this is, and that gives you the inside week for BP to see which way that goes. If we go to Concho CXO, you'll see that some of these things that have been the stronger names, Concho being one of them on the monthly, takes these lower lows out here, takes these higher high out there. Big triangle in here, and yet not strong enough to take out the highs. So basically what this potentially is telling me that this is just all corrective activity from the original dump. Corrective and then redump if they really want to correct these things. And if you go back to even tighter stuff here on the daily, you're going to see this. If you go to the weekly here, see them keeps making the series higher, higher, higher. Now the question, we're going to break this stuff. And if we do, you'll look at the daily like this. Here, and you're going to see this in here. Boom, 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 boom. Slight higher high here, and now back reclaiming all this stuff, and not a whole lot of stuff down here if they want to hit it. No new actionable signals, however. If you go to Devon Energy, Devon, one of the few, the proud, trying to maintain the inside month, and so 2-month inside pattern that would need to change. If we go to EOG, one of those stronger names again, yet on the monthly not strong enough to take this stuff out. You got all this stuff out, so the question is this corrective activity of that. If we go to the weekly, you'll see this here, takes this stuff out, not strong enough to take that out. The question is going to retake all this stuff, this outside bar, and drop back in all this stuff, or is it still going to hold a higher series? To start off the week, on the daily, you're going to see this, outside rev strat. And so this is actually two types of rev strat. So when you hear me talk about the one bar where it goes inside, up, and then takes out the other side, it indeed rev stratted by doing that in one bar on Friday. Right? Goes up, comes through it, reverses the inside bar here at 91.30. Doesn't take this out, but it's a shooting star, which is an actionable signal countering the inside bar. So it is still a rev strat and momentum shooting star come Monday morning below 90.68. We'll see how that goes. If we go to Fang Energy, which has been one of the strongest that we know, starting to give it up a bit, and that's a bit of a problem because now did go into new highs, but now you've got the shooting star countering the hammer. And so this shooting star off the highs on the monthly, we're certainly going to pay attention to that. If we go to the weekly, still a higher series like that, you fill the gap. The question is going to come down and challenge this or worse and try and take some of these levels out. You would have monthly shooter to try and do it. And if you want to look at that on a daily basis, you'll see the bigger like this here. All this business in here, so you can see trying to put in the higher level stuff like that. But if this is the middle of this triangle, you can see the lower low, the higher high, the slight lower low off of that, the slight higher high off of that. Take them to the downside, take them to the upside. Now back in the middle. Now the question is, we're going to try and come and take all this stuff back out. And if we do, we would be monthly shooter down. So we can pay attention to that. If we go to Amarada Hess also daily rev strat down, inside day countered by shooter. And it's also one big bar with 2-bar pattern, so we need to try and get out of this range here, this thing. How do you get out of here? And on the monthly, still, with some of these things, at least testing this stuff, not doing it, and not quite an inside month because it took that out by a little bit, but you can still a little bit weaker than those other ones that are coming off the highs already. So another thing to always keep an eye on is the discernible strength and weakness within sectors and the subsectors, and there it is. If you go to Noble Energy NBL, oh boy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months doing this, and now going inside month. So we'll have to see what that inside month closes out and how everything starts to go. If we go to NFX, another inside month, and so the question here, like you can see, the Hess is down here in the monthly, NFX is up here, but we got the higher high. Do we take this and start dropping back into here? The lower low, the higher high, the lower low, the higher high, the lower low, the hammer, all the way back up. Doji, chop them up inside month. Certainly want to pay attention to that. If this thing's fully going to expand back down to there, or is it up, sideways, hold, and measured, move towards the upside? If we go to Oxy. Now, Oxy, a perfect example of what I talked about early in the month. As soon as we saw this last month, I was like, you're going to have a tough time not being inside month. And so when you're still inside on a longer-term time frame, expect to get chopped up. You going to get chopped up in there? You bet you are. It's going up. No, it's going down. No, its bottom's coming up. No, it's going down. No, it's going up. It's doing nothing. It comes right back in the middle, and that's how you're going to get murdered. So it does start off as an inside week, inside month here, but still would have to not only break this inside month, but discernibly have to take a shot at either side of that. Otherwise, we can expect it to reverse when continuity changes. If we go to PXD, another one of them horses that, unfortunately, has not taken this stuff out up into here. So the question is, what is this? You got the slight lower lows off of here, right, like so, and now you've got your higher highs, like so. What is this? How do we get out of this? So potentially shooter here, and if you go to the weekly, you'll see a tighter pattern like this. What is this? How do we get out of this? You got your higher high, and then you pull them back in the range. Slight lower low if it wants to try and take another shot at the upside, but remember, this was an outside bar, and now you're back into it. So certainly if the oil starts falling apart, we'll look for some movers down towards this stuff. If we go to SU, once again, outperforming, and you can see how this monthly takes out some of this stuff, but come the end of the month, you're just taking this out, and you're not taking that out. For right now, just starting off as an inside day after a gap to see how that maintains coming into the new week. XEC, another one of those monsters that was outperforming for a long time here. And the question is, shooter counters hammer and doesn't take out the highs. What is this? Is what we want to know about. And I'm not being the harbinger of doom. I'm just pointing out the larger triangles. And so if we can take that into shorter term weekly, you'll see this here, the outside week. Shoot her off the high, bring her in, slight lower low. So the question here is going to be weak enough to come down into this stuff, like so. So it will be monthly shooter most likely, and that would be a signal of the downside if they get them going. Same thing with slob, pig, slob. Ugh. Had such high hopes too. Shooter, hammer, and then going. Nope. Shooter, hammer, shooter. And so look at this, 3 months opening and close right in there with attempts on both sides. Question is, what's the next attempt? Well, this month, to honor the signal, that even this shooter worked for a while, and even this hammer worked for a while, but it would be shooter down on the monthly. If you go to Halliburton, a little better, but comes into this stuff, and now Halliburton goes inside weak here, and you can see it's trying to expand this higher, high, low, low, higher, high, low, low. Here, now what is this inside week? Is this a hold and trying to continue it, use this as a continuation pattern, or is it going to drop back in here? If you go to the daily, you'll see it pretty clearly. Here. Now, are we dropping back in, or are we just testing here and trying to go back up? Was inside day down on Friday, so the hopes for the Halliburton would be inside day Monday and then right back up. But if you start dropping back in here, it's going to be something we want to know about. If we go to ECA and Canada, here's the daily triangle. I said you're going to be careful of the tight ones. Higher, high, low, low, higher, high, low, low, high, high. Right? Now pulling back in. Is this going to complete, or is this back and fill type of stuff? It was weekly a shooting star per the video I believe last week. So the question is, what is this? Is this all corrective activity? Because on the monthly, talked about if oil does keep turning around, it's been a lot higher, but conversely, it's also coming way off the lows. This thing got down to $3 and rallies almost to 12. So watching this outside week here, all that kind of stuff, but no new actionable signal there. If we go to NOV, NOV goes inside week and down, and we've been watching to see if this thing can get off the mat, and so far it has not. It's made a few attempts, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 weeks completely in this bar's range, and then boom, inside week and puke and take it out. So still some issues going on in NOV, and NOV at this point trying to close as an inside month, and you can see once again this whole sideways pattern that the Earls have been doing. If we go to WMB going to be an inside month, trying to walk and save itself all the way back up, or is this corrective action inside month and back down? We'll see how that goes. If we go to PE, the Parsley Energy, another one of them strong ones, but going shooter counters hammer, and we want to be aware of that. And on the weekly, remember we looked at these shooter, and back in. So the question is going to be weak enough to take it all the way back into here. We're going to try and hold on back up. We'll see. But right now, trying to go the shooter counters hammer on the monthly. If we go to Natty Gas, UNG, Doji, but attempts the upside and now coming back in on the daily. You're going to see this. Got him good in here. She did take him up there. Outside bar, inside. Takes the outside bar. Does not come back into it for the expansion. Comes all the way down into here. Goes inside day and tries to pop up. So nothing really new there. We knew that the stocks were already taking a beating, like COG was RevStrat month to the downside. Now that's completing. And now you got this big outside day here. Outside day momentum shooter if they want to keep hitting it. RRC, talked about that. 2-bar inside day pattern. And that also kicked in the momentum monthly shooter. Remember this bar here, RevStrat. Walking back in here to see how weak it's going to be, because on the daily you're going to see this. Like this, trying to go triangle expando, right? This big outside bar is right on the bottom of the triangle. See if this is a continuation pattern and keeps it going. If you go to EQT, you'll remember we saw that trying to expand off of this. Goes down here and now comes back up into that range. But remember this is get a little, when we were watching this triangle, here, shooter, and then down, peak, expansion. Now just come back in the range. No new actionable signals over there. CWEI is the one that was been moving, and we've been trading that pretty well. I'll say yeah. But, well, like I said, when you see the triangle here, tight range, let's take out both sides. Bam, bam, right? And then inside day and back in. But what that gives you is a big outside week, and you're going to have a tough time taking out either side of that. So we want to be cautious on that, and we want to be aware when it does. All right, if we go to XME, here, staying inside month. So you remember the starting to hammer off the year, and boom, and then inside month to the upside. Inside month potential RevStrat as it hammered back off that inside. Now another inside month. So the question here is it too weak to take that RevStrat and go down, sideways, inside, and back down, or do we go inside and then trigger the RevStrat? Would we go stop levels above this and all these back into the high? So an inside month for XME. If we go to gold, Gold had that shooter month down, not the end of the world, but it was. And once again, the problem with gold, this weekly, how are you going to get out of this? So you don't go inside week and up slightly, 1, 2, 3. So the potential problem is this corrective activity of this big down move where it goes down, correct, boom, and slam it again. So we'll be aware of that. Because you can see here, with inside day up, but comes way off the highs, and that's what it should do when you're still on that weekly. So we want to be aware and see if it takes this range back to the downside. Anything like here's an outside bar, you start taking this thing down there, we're certainly going to be aware of that. So if we go to the minors, you can see GDX here. GDX inside week. And so once again, the question: we're going to go down, corrective action inside week, and start crushing these things, or do they maintain? And this is the correct activity here, and go inside to the back to the upside. Like I said, we got to be really aware of that giant bar in gold and how we get out of that thing. If you go to silver the same and a little bit weaker. Right, you can see this 3 weeks inside of this stuff. How are we going to get outside of that? So certainly paying attention to all that. If we go to the gold stocks, AEM took that bar to the downside, then comes back up in here. So if we go to that monthly, the good part was tested the old triangle. The question is, it tested again and go through it. Like I said, the underlier are going to have a lot to do with it. So here, slight higher high off of that. Old triangle becomes support, hit that, stop them out here and back up. But once again, these tight ranges here on the daily, but you got that slight higher high here. The question is going to come down and test the other bottom of the range. We'll see how, underlier and all that stuff, how all that stuff goes. So I'm not going to waste too much time there. The steels all going inside week, and there's your new core, and there's your RS, not X, but we'll see how these other ones get out of that stuff first. And TCK has been the champ with the crappy coal stuff and all that good stuff running, but how far this baby's going to go? This is a nice run here. It got down to $3 and up to 21. So how much further this thing can go should be real interesting. As you get up in here, just a bunch of tight triangle stuff walking them up. Stop them out, stop them out, stop them out, stop them out. So how long can that go? Now you got an outside day and an inside day. So you're starting off as an inside day for the top ticker in you, if you think that's what's going to happen. But we'll see. You're going to let it break either side of that. And FCX, this is one of those things you want to watch, though. Range, slight higher high, slight lower low. And so when you see that, you see things start to make a move toward the other side. This is how price discovery works. Higher highs, lower lows, and back and forth. And so that's good that it's getting slightly bigger. It just, if you go to the monthly, how do we get out of all this stuff? And the good thing is we just tested a bunch of these lows and come back and go hammer on the month. So certainly would pay attention to that hammer should the XME go inside month and up and try and trigger that previous rev strat. If we go to retail, XRT having some problems here. And not the end of the world, but back into this range on the weekly, you can see the slow deterioration in here. Now an outside week. Fractal triangle. Remember, we were watching that daily, so we had that momentum shooter to break that stuff. So the question is going to be strong enough to get back into this stuff. So we'll be watching that outside week for sure over there. If you go to the Walmart monthly, remember that. Now, what is this? Big outside bar, tests it, and tries to come back up. So the question is going to start testing back to the downside. You did have this on the weekly, this hammer, and try to come back up into this range, but no real telling here. And daily, how long does this creeper here last? Can you get up into the gap or not? No new actionable signals there. If you go to, and once again, on the monthly, you want to be aware of something like this. You're going to be right back in the middle of the month. So it's going to be a tough time not being an inside month. And so you can be aware of that if you're trading the Walmart. If you go to Costco going inside month. And so as well it should, because when you look at the weekly, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks completely within this bar's range. That needs to change. It needs to get out of here, and then it's either going to stay out or tempt the other side. And the problemo here would be down sideways corrective action and measured move and come down here and get clobbered, or try and firm up through that. But you got an inside month forming there. If you go to Target just misses, but once again, Target monthly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months completely within this bar. We still want to get rid of that. It's somewhat of a hammer, but you always want to pay attention to things that are inside on longer term time frames. Had a couple of these things that were trying to go inside month and just couldn't get it going. KSS would set up the rev strat back down, 2-month inside pattern of this. See if there's any hope in the last few days here. But Macy's, remember they talked about this too. It'd be rev strat month to the downside, but that was one I talked about a couple of months ago. But how are you going to get outside of this thing? You're not. And if you aren't, prepare to go up and down because it's consolidating. So that still needs to change for Macy's. It does start off as an inside day. We've seen it in Nordstrom here. The inside month attempt to take that out. Outside week here. That makes fractal triangle on daily like so. Slight higher highs off of that, lower lows off of that. If you take it out, you'll see the bigger series like this though. But still tight stuff in here, and you can see how tight this was. This makes the lower highs and then comes in to take that out. But running out a month on this stuff, so still real tight stuff. If we go to Tiffany, same type of deal. Tiffany tried to take the inside month, the upside, and then just stalls out. You got your lower low here, slight higher high here. So how do we get out of this stuff? And that on a weekly basis, it would look like this here. The lower low, the higher high, the lower low, the slight higher high. How do we get out of this thing? If we go to DDS, a lot weaker, but going inside weak. We'll see how that goes. Abercrombie still in all sorts of trouble, drifting towards the lows. So just momentum down at this point. Bloodbath and beyond, same deal. But it is an inside week. And so the question is, if you look at the monthly, are they just going to go down slightly and take this range out, or is it going to continue all this stuff here, the down corrective activity and continue, or is it going to try and reclaim that range? Inside week to start off. Buffalo Wild Wings, oh boy. Buffalo Wild Wings, this weekly we've been keeping an eye on. Boom, 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 boom. Now how do we get out of this stuff? And the problem is outside week, which makes an even tighter daily triangle to keep an eye on. And here it is an inside day. See how it gets out of that. But hopefully today you're seeing a lot of this stuff. When people ask me about drawing the triangles, you can see where they are and the need to let them get bigger so you can get the bigger moves. CASY, Casey's General Store, gap down in Waka, 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 Waka. Now inside week to see if they want to down and reclaim this big outside bar here, or inside week and start continuing into oblivion. So once again, big outside bar, needed to get out of it. It has. Now the question is, does it hold down here? Because if it starts reclaiming in here, that's good. That means we can take a shot up in here eventually. So right now, inside week for Casey's. Burritos. Eesh. All sorts of trouble in the burritos. Again, monthly goes back and takes this stuff out. Corrective activity peak. It was actually rev strat month to the downside because it opened and closed back in the inside month. And then right back down to the lows. However, if there's any hope, it does go inside day to see if it's really going to get killed here. Down, sideways measured move, or is it going to try and reclaim up in here once again? Even if it does, tall order getting out of here. So you'd really have to take this out or be very careful when it's inside day and up there. Coach. Purses goes inside weak. All right, and so what is this big triangle here? Is it finally triangle day out here? Try and go up, back up, and test that stuff, or roll back down. Still some pretty tight ranges in there. DG, the dollar gen, going inside weak there, still having problems. Remember that monthly looking like this. Eesh. But now if it goes inside week and back to the upside, you might get your monthly hammer out of it. So we'll watch that inside week here at Dollar Gen. If we go to Domino's Pizza, that's what I'm talking about. There you go. Weekly momentum hammer into the highs. And, this is one of the things you look for is momentum. There you go. Right there when she was going into the highs. Now triangle them out a little bit up in here to see if there's any more in the tank. But you can see when you look at monthly charts, what kind of stocks you might want to be going after. If you go to, supposed to bottom picking piggies. If you go to FRGI, Fergie, remember that one inside month down. All right. Now, what is this? What is this down in here? Got that pop up in there, and then last week does this. Inside week to the downside, but still a 2-week inside pattern. Couldn't take that out. But you can see how here, inside week up after these slight lower lows. So on a daily basis, you'll see this very clear. Now dropping back into here. The question is going to be outside bar, is it weak enough to take this stuff and start puking more? So we'll see how that goes. If we go to GES, pig, inside day, below the inside month, just going into lower lows would be the issue. So we'll see if there's more puking, or going to try and bring her back up on that. If you go to genuine parts GPC, some of these auto parts finally getting their comeuppance and getting smacked. And once again, you see the monthly comes up here, it goes inside month, not strong enough to take that out and drops in. But now you got that higher high, the lower low. What is this triangle up in here? Is going to be weak enough to come down and take this out. Once again, hopefully you're seeing all this. Lower lows and higher highs. Like that. Uses the triangle's support, hammer back up inside. Now ripping back through there, but now lower lows off of that stuff. So what it's doing here, that causes the inside weak, to see if indeed this is the bottom of the triangle, or is it down sideways measured move and really get clobbered. It starts off also as an inside day. If you go to Lowe's Corp, big triangle in the Lowe's Corp, and this could be an issue here too. Got here, momentum hammer, momentum exhausts. Next month, puke, 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 puke. Now it's going to be weak enough to take all these guys out. Right? Took a nice beating last week. It's an outside week, so we're going to make sure if it gets below that, it stays there. Otherwise, it's fractal triangle back up in. If we go to RL, multi-inside month pattern. In here, how do we get out of that stuff? If they want to weaken these things right out the chute, it does start off as rev strat day to the downside. Inside bar countered with shooter after taking out these highs. Or reclaim all this stuff and take a shot at that triangle. If we go to Under Armour, piggy. Inside day near the lows, and that on the gapper here. The question, if you're trying to bottom pick this, the problem is when you have a gap like that and it's inside week and down and it's inside month and down, that thing's in trouble. The best thing you could hope for is what you got on Friday, is an inside day. So we'll see how that inside day finishes off and starts the new month. Whole Foods. Inside month, once again, testing the lows. Is there any hope? And it will start off as an inside week. And so potentially have a week and month break right out the chute here on Tuesday. But we'll see how that goes for Whole Foods. If we go to the IBB, IBB had a rough one. And IBB, talked about this many times. And this is once we see this range, test these guys, but too strong to take that out. That was good. But then it comes up into here and can't maintain this, and trying to do battle with this, the down, the corrective activity, the puke. Now is this the same thing? The corrective activity and puke still above that, but if we go back in here, and you can see the lower low off of that, outside week or outside month, all right, took it out, but then comes back into it. That's bad. And here's your weekly fractal triangle. Then the upper one in here, outside week, tried to stay above it, couldn't do it. Take all this outside bar, gets below it, stays below it. Now you're back into here, no new actionable signals, and running out a month. You go to GILD trying to start off as RevStrat downside week if they want to continue to pound this thing. It's been walking down, had its inside month week and up, but that's all it could do. Now inside week and up and back in. So potential RevStrat to the downside as the monthly continues to just walk lower. So we'll be aware of that. If you go to Celgene trying to fight back and trying to go monthly hammer. And remember last week it was a fractal triangle, outside week. Now it's going to be strong to maintain that. It starts off as an inside day. So it takes the inside day. We want to see if we can get through all this stuff, or better, all right, and form the monthly hammer for that, or is it going to go down, fill the gap, and puke? If we go to BIIB, we know that we were watching this daily triangle forever, and finally makes it all the way back down. Because if there's any hope, it was going to break this series of lower triangles like this. It couldn't do it. And then finally, tight triangle business here. Higher high, lower low, higher high, lower low, higher high, yay, no, bam, right back to the lows of that. Just watching this tight series as well. And if you go back to the weekly, you'll see this. Just like the IBB, the bam, 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 and then back into the middle of the range. No new actionable signals going to be forming there either. And these no actionable signals is an issue coming into this new month, but hopefully the election, some things can get some things done. Regeneron, talked about this triangle many times. Bam, bam, bam on the weekly. How do you get out of here? Outside bar goes down towards here. Question is, how weak is this thing going to stay? And on the daily, it just keeps walking down here. Comes up into here. Triangles day out, but not strong enough to take that. And that monthly going to look like this. And so the problem here is just the down continuation triangle, measured move of this. Peak. All right, if we go to Amgen, and Amgen, you can see here, once again, pops up, but not strong enough to go to the new highs off of this. A lot of eyeballs on this stuff, and they're like, oh, it's a clean break. Maybe. And then it stalls out up in here and starts puking on the earnings. So right now, because it was an earnings puker, it does take out the slight lower lows here, but nothing new on the actual signal, like it's straight momentum and a good chance of going inside day on Monday to see how that's going to go. If we go to ABC, these guys, getting killed with the SRX and all that kind of stuff on Friday. And the thing is, it was in a situation where it didn't want any bad news because it was set up as a rev strat week to the downside when that hit. So for right now, just to start off, it'll be a momentum shooting star on the daily start off. AGIO, if there's any hope, goes inside weak, so the hopes would be the slight higher highs, the slight lower lows, the inside weak triangle continuation of this. Remember that inside weak was nice. Or is it going to go down inside and drop back into the triangle with the rest of the pukers? So we'll keep an eye on either side of that inside week. If we go to Alexion, nothing new here except that outperforming. If you look at the monthly, going up. Outside month to the upside was going to be fractal triangle, and if you go to the daily, you'll see this here. I'm going to try and get out of this stuff. We could use some more actionable signals. Once again, don't have it. But anytime the daily closes out, you go like this, we'll go like that. The higher high, the lower low, the higher high, the lower low, the higher high. So just outperforming at this point with no new actionable signals there in the IBB. If we go to ILMN, ILMN, after the gap puker, now middle of the range, which gives you inside weak, down, sideways measured move if more of their drugs don't work. Because the problem, once again, is even if you come up into here, how are you going to get outside of this thing? So we'll keep an eye on that one for sure. If we go to MNK, MNK still inside month and down. Here, as you can see here, once again, tried to take this range, comes back in, goes inside month, and puker. Broke the inside month, 68.41. We'll take that. So the question is going to be weak enough to try and challenge all this stuff. You're running out of month on that signal, but we'll be aware of that longer-term triangle. So we see some more weakness because we had old VRX inside month and down puker and RevStrat daily combo on Friday. RevStrat daily reconfirms the monthly down. See how that works? Yay! Okay. If we go to Jazz Farm, or boo for it, but Jazz Farm, no new actual signals there. You can just see, though, how much underperforming it's done. To see if it's going to take out all this stuff, we can look for additional actionable signals as we roll along there. UTHR fighting here, and you can see this outside month and now challenges it, now doji month. And to start off here, you can have an inside week. Now, what is this? Is it corrective activity and come back up through this stuff, or is it just can drop back into this thing? And yeah, it also starts off as an inside day. So if we go to TAC XLK, the question is, the strength of the TAC going to continue to save us? And you'll see this pretty tight stuff. Either high or high couldn't do it. Big outside day shooter, which is fractal, is a rev strat because it's an inside day and shooting star counter, and you'll still see this like this, bam, 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 bam. So if we go back to the monthly, once again, it's been the pillar of strength and makes the slight higher highs. How do we get out of this stuff? To start off, if we go to the weekly here, again, inside week almost closes back in rough strat, 2-bar inside pattern of this outside pattern. So how do we get out of this stuff? If you go to semiconductors, SMH, that would be rev strat to the downside. Inside weak countered with the shooter opening and closing back in the range. Completely within this bar's range, however. But we certainly want to be aware of that, because if we start losing any more strength, I'm not sure how much we can take of that. If we go to the Facebook's still doing the walk here, and you can see this still put it in the slow chug on the monthly. The question is, when do we get that shake them up and spit them out a little bit here? And remember, this range in here took these guys out. Then when it started to reclaim, we're like, all right, now we're going to go try and take these guys out. And they took them all out up into here, but then come back into the range. So not much to go on just yet in there. If we go to Amazon, what's to say? Amazon goes up and finally comes in and pukes. And it's an outside week here. Outside week fractal triangle to see if it's going to be weak enough to take any of this stuff, or is it going to pop back up for the inside week. Don't know. You know, when a gap like that, we got to see here if we go back to the daily. Once again, you can see here it's higher high, but not strong enough to take that out. Therein lied the problem. And you can see the higher highs, the lower lows, the higher highs, and then boom, take them all out. So we don't have stuff until really down into here if they really want to start smacking her. If they go to Netflixy, Netflix got them, but good she did on the monthly. But for the daily, just stuck up in this range here. Tight range on the weekly, like I pointed out before. How do you get out of this? Are you going to make the higher high, or are you going to not? So no real evidence over there as yet. If we go to Goog, so the Goog goes into the highs and then just comes back and fills a little bit. So not much to go on here either, except we had this tight triangle business in here. Now what is this? Do we maintain these highs, or does it start dropping back into this range? No new actionable signal on the Goog, and somewhat like the Facebooker, just walking up the monthly here, but we'll see how that goes. We could use some more actionable signals. If we go to AMBA, once again, failed monthly hammer back down into here. So the question is here, keep drawing them for you, the slight lower low monthly, the Rev Strat monthly to get her going, the higher highs, and into here. Is this corrective activity of this dump right here, and then back into the poo-poo land? If you go to the weekly, you'll see it tighter here. Higher high, lower low, higher high, lower low. Now 2 weeks inside of there to see if it drops back in through this stuff. And on the daily, you'll have to start the week off daily momentum shooter to see if it wants to take a shot at taking all that stuff out. If we go to AVGO, once again, one of these things, this is the issue here. There's the monthly going inside month. Inside month here, and on that weekly, corrective activity back up. Not strong enough to take out the highs. What does that mean here? So it goes back inside week, opens and closes back in, Rev Strat back to the downside. So we'll be keeping an eye on this daily here. Like so. You got those higher highs. What's the lower low? Is it just this, or is it going to be this down in here, this kind of stuff here? But we'll be watching for that inside month, and that would do it. Once again, is this corrective activity of the dump from here? Often these retracements get pretty steep and then start going again. You might recall I tweeted it out, and we traded on Friday. The beautiful Rev Strat 60, and just like, didn't think this video was going to go on this long, but I think there's a lot of good stuff in here. This Rev Strat 60, had that on Twitter and had it in the room, and bam, we'll take that. Anytime you get a quick buck or two, we'll take it. If we go to Cree, Piggy Cree monthly, inside month and down, trying to go into these more recent lows. You're just running out a month, but to start off the week, you're going to be weekly momentum shooter to try and go into the lows. If you go to CRM would be slight Rev Strat weak to the downside. Inside week opens and closes back in there. You can see how tight this business is here, and they are chopping them up and good, but spitting them out on this daily here. But it goes inside day, so we'll see if that Rev Strat's back down. If we do see some discernible weakness in the sector and the subsector over there. If we go to LRCX in the semis. Big outside bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days completely within this bar. How do we get out of that? That we want to know about, because it does go inside week here, and if it starts breaking back into this range, potentially Rev Strat month, because it was inside month and up into the highs. So we'll be paying attention to that for show. If we go to MU, once again, is this corrective activity not strong enough to take that stuff out? MU on the monthly and on the weekly, MU would be Rev Strat to the downside. Inside bar, counter with shooter. So we'll pay attention to that. If we go to NTES, the crusher. But NTES finally, a 2-week inside pattern would be Rev Strat back to the downside if she's finally running out of steam after all this. So we also have on the shorter term, outside day, inside day. So if that inside day breaks down, then you could have this to gauge it against to make sure it stays below that outside, which will also kick in the Rev Strat week. If we go to NVIDIA, how they want to short it. Well, now you got a chance because it goes inside day off the highs and off the highs of this triangle. Or do we go momentum hammer, just keep sticking it to them next month? But to start off, you got that little daily inside shooter to maybe come in. We'll see. If we go to OLED, tight range here, would be slight rev strat to the downside. Inside 2-week pattern would still have to get out of that, but would be rev strat to the downside. Corvo, semi. Would be, that didn't stay weak, did it? 71, no. Not quite a rev strat there, but if you go to the monthly here, see inside month coming for the Corvo. So the question is, once again, what's this? How do we get out of this? Do we drop back into this stuff and go boom, 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 take all these guys out, or are we going to corrective action month and back up with the semis? That is Corvo. Texas Instruments. Here, just chopping them up on towards the highs here, and just tight triangle daily to keep an eye on this. How we get out of this inside day for the Texan. VMW, finally an inside day, trying to finally make its push. It's been really stuck in here, and there's your weekly inside weekend up, which triggered the month. The question is going to be strong enough to keep coming through that stuff. We got an inside day to start off to see if it is. If we go W day. W day, once again, takes the range down here, takes some of this range up, doesn't take it all out there. And so we're going to start off here as the inside day after the outside day to see how does it get out of this. Slide higher high. Slight lower low. So like this. Is it down? Triangle them out. Sideways measured move puke. Or we can try and maintain in that triangle. We'll see come Monday morning. If we go to Xilinx. Xilinx would be rev strat weak to the downside, still 2-bar pattern, but we'll take, like I said, there's a lot of things to keep an eye on here if they want to start simultaneous breaking them to the downside. If we go to Yahoo, just inside weak to keep an eye on. If we go to Home Builders real quick, XHB, and you can remember how this thing up in here, monthly, just missed the inside month, but ITB did. Remember that, inside month and down. So the question is going to hold these slight lower lows and that stuff. It's starting off as an inside day. And you can remember KBH doing this. Following this try. Boom, 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 boom. Peak. Now inside day down in here. So nothing really new on here on these stuff. But just pointing some stuff out with the Toll Brothers. Here is also an inside day. And that still is inside month to the downside there. WLH, this thing going inside month, so that thing could be interesting coming the new month. And Weyerhaeuser, stuck in all this business. But it is, right now, would be an inside month for the new month, depending on what happens tomorrow. Just a few more. If you go to DY, you're going to see potential rev strat daily to the downside off this gap here. If we go to IRM, potential inside day momentum shooter to the downside. If we go to SBAC, SBC Communications, potential rev strat week down. If we go to Tyson Chickens TSN, potential rev strat week up, 3-week inside pattern. URI, here is an inside week, potential inside month. So we'll keep an eye on that potential combination there. Once again, what is this? Big triangles to the downside if they want to do it. But like I said, a lot of things would have to go wrong, but we'll see. Wynn Resorts, and tries to rev strat month down here. So the question is, we hit that top of the range, and are they going to try and come through all this stuff? You can still see this series of higher lows. The question is, they're going to try and drop back through and take some of this stuff out. So I'd be well aware of that potential. It's starting off as an inside day here. And, of course, Tesla. And Tesla with the gap in reverse, not strong enough to take that stuff out. And so you can see here, this series here, lower lows, higher high, higher high. Now the question is going to be weak enough to take all this stuff out again, because what it's doing here in the monthly is an outside month, which is fractal triangle, which you just saw, which it needs to get out of. But it's also 1, 2, 3, 4 months completely within this bar's range. So we're going to be well aware of when that break occurs and whether it stays out, sets up the weekly momentum shooter there in Tesla. So we'll see how that goes. So I really thought today was going to be a short video, but turns out there was a lot of examples that can help you see things in terms of the strat going forward. So a lot of things got to occur here. There is some potential here to the downside, but once again, things have to confirm and reconfirm, and then we got an election. So, all right, hope everybody had a great weekend. I am off the desk on Monday morning for a personal day, but I'll be back on Tuesday tweeting it up at Robin the Black, and of course, you can always find these videos, Smith and the Black, on YouTube, all one word. All right, hope everybody had a great weekend. Cubs need a rally, and we'll see what we can do. All right, I'm Rob Smith, the Quant VTF, T3 Live with this week's market breakdown video.